Hello, Golden Valley High School. Mr. Sargent here. Welcome back. I'm sure you guys have heard by now what happened. Some guy in a luchadora mask kind of attacked me, sort of. He thought he attacked me. He just kind of jumped around in front of me, said he was going to take my tie and cut my hair. And I was like, dude, chill out. And then dude ran into my closet, grabbed some of my ties, and I was like, ha ha ha. And I was like, dude, I don't even wear that tie. And that tie, I spilled coffee on it. Just take it. So he took some of my ties. Anyway, apparently he filmed the video. He put a Google form, asked you guys if you like Lucha Cougar better. I guess he calls himself, or Mr. Sargent. People don't like that guy. He didn't do very well in his own Google form. Most people pick Mr. Sargent, which I appreciate. And, of course, look how fresh my tie looks. So hope you guys, thank you for picking Mr. Sargent. Anyway, what we're going to do today is a complicated idea, but I've tried to make it simple by labeling things clearly for you. What we're going to do is calculate what's called arc length, which is different than arc measure. Arc length is the actual distance if you traveled from point A to point B. Now the measure is 64 degrees, but that's not what we want. We want to know the actual distance if you were to measure it with a measuring tape. And we don't know this distance from A to B, so we're going to call it x. Then we're going to do a substitution into this simple formula, and it will be simple, and then the calculator will do most of the work for us. So we're going to start by using substitution. The first thing we want is the circumference of the arc, or the distance of the arc. We don't know that distance, so we call it x. The next thing we want is the central angle of the arc. Well, that's given to us right here. That's the central angle of the arc, 64 degrees. Now this says the circumference of the circle, and apparently that Lucha Cougar guy talked to you guys about circumference of a circle. Circumference of a circle is 2 times pi times radius, and the radius of this circle is 5. And then the very last piece of information, everybody knows the central angle of a circle. The central angle of a circle, everybody knows what that is. 360 degrees every time. So now we've got this equation with one variable in it, so you can solve the whole thing by cross multiplying. So we multiply 64 times 2 times 3.14 times 5, and this is equal to 360 times x. Now this is some big number that your calculator will do. Then you divide both sides by 360. And this gives you a value of 6.7 when rounded to the nearest tenth. Now is a good time to pause the video and see if you can work all of this out in your calculator and get 6.7 to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to say pause and then unpause. Ready? Pause. Unpause. Let's try another example. Let's just do a quick switcheroo here. I should have left this radius in here. Oh well, we'll call this point D. We'll call this point C. We'll give this a radius of 7 and a central angle of 121 units, or 121 degrees. And now let's calculate the distance or the length of arc CD. We don't know the actual length, so we will call it x. And now we make a substitution. The circumference of the arc, that's what we are trying to find, is x. The central angle of the arc is 121 degrees. The circumference of the circle, this is what Lucha Cougar taught you, 2 times pi times the radius. The radius is 7. And finally, the central angle of every circle is always 360 degrees. And as I mentioned before, we can now solve by using cross multiplication. We have 121 times 2 times 3.14 times 7. and this is equal to 300 to 60x. And again, your calculator will do most of the work. We use inverse operations. We divide both sides by 360, and we should get 14.8 units when rounded to the nearest a tenth. So again, use your calculators, see if you can punch those numbers in and get the correct answer. If you can, you're ready to complete today's Google form. We've got a few problems just like this one. Follow the steps, submit your answer, round to the nearest tenth. This Google form is due by the end of the week on Friday. And hopefully that's it for that Lucha Cougar guy, and hopefully you'll see Mr. Sargent again soon. See you later, Golden Valley.